Happy Mother's Day to everyone. And this year, our theme for Agape Bay Area is soaring to new heights. And just saying that gives me a lift. It makes me feel like, woo, where's going to happen? Spirit, where are we going? And for those of you who don't know, or those of you who do know, my main feeling tone about spirit, one of my main feeling tones, is the playfulness of it all. Because I've been told, Robin Rice Olmsted shared this with me, that the vibration of playfulness is the highest vibration that within spirits. So that vibration of playfulness makes me know that soaring to new heights is really filled with all sorts of things that we as adults can appreciate, but also that the younger versions of us inside us can appreciate. So today's topic, which came to me a while back, Reverend Jones sends us the email way before it's time to do this. And as Reverend Cindy has said, and Reverend Joan has said, so the title shows up, and then when you get to that week, I might start thinking, okay, Spirit, what idea do you have here? However, the title for today is Where Did I File That Evite? So in these days, we all get a lot of evites. And even if we get like just one a month, that's a lot to me. And so we get evites. And if you're like me, you might get the evite, you might look at the evite, and you might just file the evite someplace versus answering the evite straight away. So this that showed up for me is where did I file that evite is really personal to me. And I think it's personal to all of us because we're all very sought after attendees at any event. And so we get evites. However, before we start talking about where did I file that evite, let's have a joke because it's all about love and laughter and joyousness. So there was an elderly couple who in their old age noticed that they were getting a lot more forgetful. So they decided to go to the doctor. So they went to the doctor, and the doctor said to them that they should start writing down so they didn't forget. Okay, sounds like a good idea, huh? Write down so you don't forget. So they went home, and the lady told her husband to get her a bowl of ice cream. And he said, okay, I will. And she said, I think maybe write it down. And he said, no, I can remember that. I don't need to write it down. So then she said, okay, I'd like some whipped cream on top of the ice cream. And he said, okay, gotcha. And she said, maybe this you might need to write down. You know what the doctor said. And he says, no. I can remember that. You want a bowl of ice cream with whipped cream. Okay, easy peasy. So then for a few moments go by and she says, you know what? I'd like a cherry on top of that bowl of ice cream with whipped cream. And he says, okay, got it. I can do that. And she said, are you really sure, honey, you don't need to write it down? And he said, no, I do not need to write this down. Okay, so he leaves and he goes into the kitchen, and he's gone in the kitchen 30 or 45 minutes. And she's thinking, what's going on in there? What's happening? So in about 45 minutes, he arrives back in the room and he hands her a plate of bacon and eggs. And she looks at him and says, where's the toast? So we get to be we get to be compassionate with ourselves and gentle with ourselves about forgetfulness because it's a part of our everyday life. It's a part of everyone's everyday lives. So I was wondering, so what is forgetfulness really? Because in my own life, what is really forgetfulness? So some of the things that showed up for me that forgetfulness may be, and I'm not definitively saying this is the answer. However, what forgetfulness may start out being as inattention. Just inattention to things. That's all there is to it. And when we are inattentive to something, we are really being in a place of not being present. And really, we only have the present moment. There's no other timing that we have. The present is what we have. The past is the past. The future is the future. However, the present moment is what we have. And so when we are inattentive, we might not be present. And as I said, in all of these things that we're talking about with forgetfulness and the silliness of it and the happeningness of it and all of that, we get an opportunity to truly be gentle with ourselves, truly be compassionate with ourselves, truly be with ourselves, as the Karen Drucker song says, treat ourselves like a newborn baby child. And also, when we're thinking about this, forget the definitive parts of forgetfulness. The first one is inattentiveness. We get to think about, how would you feel or how would you handle it if you were talking to someone who was your dear friend? Like if I was talking to Jim about forgetfulness, what feeling tone would be the feeling tone that I use. So we get to remember to be that way with ourselves. So the second thing that came up for me about forgetfulness was preoccupation. And so we can be preoccupied with a lot of other things. Okay. There's a lot of things that can be on our mind that have nothing to do with the present moment. And a lot of times when we are in preoccupation, we are being other than all the universal truths that are a part of our lives. You know, love, beauty, peace, compassion, tenacity, resilience, all of the things, grace, harmony, artistry that are an integral part of our day-to-day lives. We can not have our thoughts on that, not have our minds on that. We can be preoccupied with some of the other parts of life, which could be things like worry, upsetness, anger, resentfulness, things like that. And I am not saying that those things are not spirit, because it is all spirit. There is no duality in any parts of our lives. However, when we're preoccupied, sometimes we can just be preoccupied with things and really, really, really not be in the truth of things. I'm going to give an example of my own life and preoccupation. So yesterday morning, I was going to the farmer's market. I get to go to the farmer's market on Saturday mornings with my daughter. And before we were going to the farmer's market, I had decided to have a little 30-minute workout. Well, it got good to me. And before I knew it, it was 40 minutes working out at home. And then I realized, oh my goodness, I'm going to be tardy, or I'm not going to be there in time and on time, my idea of it. And so I was ready to rush out of the house, and I could not find my car key. And I thought, okay, calm down. It's all right. You have a spare. However, I was rushing, so I went and got the spare, and I rushed out because I had an agenda. I was preoccupied with something other than the truths of who and what I am, which is there is no late. There is only in time and on time. And whenever you show up, whenever I show up, my showing up is welcomed, and especially by my daughter. We're going to the farmer's market. So we went to the farmer's market, came back home. I put the spare key away, and I just knew that there is nothing lost in spirit. And so the discovery of the key was an activity that was showing up. Well, I went to put my house key away in a container that I keep by the front door. And lo and behold, there was my car key behind the container. It's a velvet box behind the container. And in that moment, I realized, oh, I was so preoccupied with the untruths that I was believing about myself, being late, being tardy, not being organized, that I really was preoccupied in not knowing the universal truths that make a home within, through, and as each of us. So that's one of the other parts about forgetfulness. And a third part about forgetfulness that showed up for me is unmindfulness, not being mindful. And not being mindful is that we allow ourselves to step outside of our awarenesses. You know, there are all sorts of awarenesses happening to us all the time, every moment of every day, every second. Awareness is about our life. Awareness is about our truth. Awareness is about our gifts. However, we allow ourselves to step outside of our awarenesses, and that is part of being unmindful. So I also, when I was being with this was a fun week being with this, because there are sometimes things that I file away, and I'm not quite sure where I put that file. So I got to giggle and laugh at myself a lot this week when that was happening. However, I thought, well, let's get down to our monthly, the theme for this month is emote, invite, and extend. And doesn't that sound really, it sounds fascinating and thrilling to me. Emote, invite, and extend. So I went to definition time. So because I wanted to be clear about it. So emote, I looked it up. It means behave dramatically or theatrically. Okay, so in our lives, we sometimes behave dramatically and theatrically. Think about the time that we are in victim mode. You know, the 4 stages of consciousness. Victim mode is the first one. Think about when you're in victim mode. Everything is happening to me. It's all being done to me. Everyone is doing this to me. Well, if that's not a place for being dramatic and theatrical, I don't know what is, because that's exactly what this is about. So emote, I'm not saying that emote doesn't have a connotation of positivity, because it does, because emoting also is like for someone as accomplished as Amy. Amy, I read all about you, and someone as accomplished as Amy Myers, that emoting is, you know, it's drama, it's theatrics, it's artistry, it's skill. However, we also can emote in ways that we use, you know, we might have over the top actions or over the top feeling tones tones that really have nothing to do with the truth of who and what each of us is. And one of the ways that I find that emoting shows up in my life is if I worry. Worry. And worrying to me is like pre-planning my future. You know what? I'm worried if this is going to happen. I'm worried if that's going to happen. I'm worried. And really, it's just pre-planning my future. And it's something that is an activity that we all get a chance to release and surrender is outlining spirit. Because if we're worrying, we're outlining spirit. We're pre-planning our future. So behaving dramatically is one of the ways that we emote. And then the invite of our theme, emote, invite, and extend. Now, the invite to me is wonderful, spectacular, splendiferous, and all the adjectives and words that I love because we have all been given an invitation from Spirit. And we have all been given an invitation from Spirit to sit down at the feast table of Spirit and enjoy ourselves, savor it, imbibe it, embody it, embrace it, be it. Each one of us. And you know, each one of us, as Reverend Joan pointed out to us last week, each one of us has been given an individualized invitation because each one of us is here to live on purpose. Each one of us gets an opportunity to know what is my purpose. You know, we get an opportunity to be in the stillness and the quiet and the silence and accept the purpose that I am here for is. And you know, also this whole finding your purpose, it doesn't have to always be in the stillness and the silence and the quiet. It can be in the hopping, skipping, jumping, rolling, hula hooping, playing, skipping, giggling in spirit that we get an opportunity to identify and know what is my purpose. You know, and we all know it. And of course, the way we get to know our purpose is what is something you would do if no one paid you, if there was no time limit, if you could just do it on and 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 on, that's your purpose. That's the purpose. Like last week when Reverend Joan was teaching us about this, I just allowed myself to think about it. And I know, and you all know who know me, my purpose is joy. My purpose is forgiveness, and my purpose is compassion. Those are some of the purposes. Those are some of the God qualities that are purposing themselves through me. So we each, from our invitation at the feast table, because you know the feast table of spirit is delectable, it's delicious, it's scrumptious. Oh, it's limitless, it's unending, it's just wonderful. And so we, each of us, get to, part of what we get to do is accept the invitation, RSVP to the invitation at the feast table at Spirit. You know, my grandparents used to say when they would invite people over, come on over and put your feet under the table. And that was to say, come on over, eat to your fill, and just till you're satiated and you're filled and you're just having a wonderful time. Well, that is the invitation that Spirit has given to each one of us. And Spirit gives the invitation in myriad ways. You know, you've gotten the invitation in a lot of ways. I've gotten the invitation in a lot of ways. And the way we get the invitation is Spirit's particular languaging with and as each one of us. Because we each get it in differing ways. And also you might get it in a advertisement on TV. You might get it in a song on the radio. You might get it in some of the songs that you hear today. You might get it from what Amy sang to us, Love Can Build a Bridge. You might get it in so many ways. However, if you allow yourself to be patient, if you allow yourself to surrender, if you allow yourself, just like it said in the reading from Teresa of Avila, if you allow yourself to dismantle some of the structures that we've built in the name of being safe and secure, if you allow yourself to really listen, you'll know that those thoughts are the thoughts of Spirit making their way through and as you, and also those thoughts being the thoughts of Spirit making their way through and as you, are the thoughts that are you. And there's only one way those thoughts can come through, and it's you. There's only one way it can make it, and it's you. So the other part of our theme is of emote, invite, and extend. Well, extend, yeah, we get to extend ourselves in discovering our newness, and we get to extend ourselves into the remembrance of who and whose we are. You know, like the Johnny Coleman quote said, I'm going to look at it here because I want to actually read it. The Johnny Coleman quote that says, "Do you know that right where you are, you have creativity, imagination, and she goes on and on. And I'm going to say, do you know right where you are, you have creativity, imagination, resilience, tenacity, beauty, harmony, grace, verve, vivacity. I could go on and on and on and on and on. You know how I have a romance going with words, as well as every single one of those words and so much more. Absolutely, they describe who and what you are, who and whose you are. So, in these three things, emote, invite, and extend. So, you're probably thinking, okay, this is great. Yeah, okay, these things I can roll with it. I can embrace it. It's okay. It's who and what I am. And so, in what ways in my life might I do that? And so, the first way in our life with the that we can do this is recognize that God is speaking through us, as I said, and recognize. And the way to recognize this, and the way to identify with this, and really be in the remembrance of this, is have some agenda-less conversations in spirit. Have some conversations in spirit that don't have an agenda. Sometimes when we go into spiritual mind treatment, we may have somewhat of an agenda. Okay, there may be things that we are opening ourselves to accept. And I'd like to remind us that in spiritual mind treatment, that we are not asking for something that we do not already have. We are affirming that is already ours to have, to be, to embrace, to express. So one of the ways we can do this is just have some conversations with spirit. And you can have conversations with spirit out loud or in the quiet of your head, either one. Okay, now I personally have conversations with the spirit out loud, and anyone who's come to my house will tell you that I also have a place set at my table for God, which is the name I like to call spirit, because I want to make sure spirit knows she, he, it is welcome all the time. However, we can have these conversations in any way you'd like. And sometimes I even have conversations with spirit that aren't quite so nice and friendly and calm and flowery and all that. Sometimes I admit to you, some of the conversations with spirit that I have is, spirit, no, I'm not going to do that. Or no, spirit, why are you bringing that to me? Or no, spirit, I'm not ready for this lesson. Or spirit. So I say all that to say we all get to have our own unique version of our conversations with spirit that have no agenda, or agenda less, as I'm saying. And I just use my own unique way. Each one of us has our way, okay? So that's the first way we can do that in our day-to-day lives. The second way we can do it in our day-to-day lives is we can truly and purely accept our divinity. Look on the screen now, if you have yourself up there, or even if you have your gorgeous portraits up there, and realize you are looking into the face of the divine. Yes, you are gazing upon the face of the divine, and the divine is gazing upon you in adoration, appreciation, delight, and so much more. So when we allow ourselves to truly, truly accept our divinity, we allow ourselves to really, like Johnny Coleman was saying to us, know that right where you are, it's all there. Everything is there. All we need to do is take the first step. And it doesn't even have to be a step. It can be a roll. It can be a little creep. It can be a little dance step. It can be it can be a cha-cha. It can be whatever you'd like it to be. However, really, really, really accept the divinity of who and what you are. That you are the divine made manifest. That you are the channel through which the divine makes itself known, seen, heard, loved, and so much more. Really, really, truly make that commitment to yourself. And one of the exercises, one of the ways that I love in making that commitment is when you're in the mirror in the morning, brushing your teeth, just take a look in the peek into those gorgeous eyes of yours and say, I love you. And if you don't have a mirror where you're brushing your teeth, whenever you come upon a mirror, take a look and calmly, slowly, and patiently say, I love you. It gives such ease to our acceptance of the divinity within. The divinity within. Okay, and the third way that came to me that we can emote, invite, and extend is by mothering ourselves. It is Mother's Day today, and I would like to say before I go on about mothering ourselves is that Mother's Day, as Reverend Joan so masterfully always does in all the Mother's Days I've spent with Reverend Joan, as she explains, it can be a challenging day. It can be a hard day. It can be a day that you may not want to wake up that morning, or you may not want to get out of bed that morning, or you may not want to recognize that it's Mother's Day. You might even be thinking, why did the United States of America have to have a special day for this? However, that is just that's quite acceptable, and allow yourself to feel that. Okay, so because we all have differing mothering experiences. And I might say that when I was younger, I wanted my mother to be perfect. And then when I became a mother, I thought, whoa, how could I have thought that? However, the third way that I'm expressing here is that we can emote, invite, and extend. We can mother ourselves. We can be our own Gaia principle within ourselves. We can mother ourselves just as Mother Earth mothers us. We can allow ourselves the gentleness, the kindness, the nurturingness, the tenderness, and also we can allow ourselves the boundary setting modeling that mothers give us. We can do all of that for ourselves. I heard a long time ago, if you don't feel that you were mothered, quote unquote, correctly, and we know there is no right or wrong, then you get to redo it. You get to do a retake. You get to mother yourself. So one of the ways that we can, of course, answer the invitation to Spirit's feast of the universe, the galaxies, and the cosmos given to us is by mothering ourselves. We get to co-create in tenderness and love, and the certitude that we are already loved, we are already loving, we are already lovable. We are that I am. So we get a chance to mother ourselves, and we get to use the example of Mother Earth. Look at how Mother Earth provides for us. Really, if you just go outside and look around, especially if you're here in California, or if you're someplace else on this Zoom call or on Facebook Live or watching on YouTube, just allow yourself, even if you're someplace like in a big city and you look out the window and you can see one little square of the sky, that is still an abundance of givingness. Whatever it is, allow ourselves to mother ourselves. That's what we get to do. So you might be thinking, all right, how's this working in your life, Reverend Verona? I always think of that statement of Dr. Phil. So how's that working for you? And so I was thinking all week long about this, and I've been being with this, and I was thinking, in what ways is this working in my life? So I have had an opportunity this week, in the last week or 10 days. A very dear friend of mine has been diagnosed with some dis-ease, hyphen in the middle, some dis-eases that maybe in the medical community would declare that her transition is at hand. Now, I know better. She knows better. We all know better, because even if the transition is at hand, it is just a moving, shifting to the next dimension of life. However, during the time that she's still here on this side of the veil and in this body temple, she called upon me. And so the first thing I got to do was I got to recognize that God was speaking to me, not just through her thoughts, but through my thoughts. Because in all honesty, I have to say to you, the first thing I said was, what's the reason she's calling me? And you may be thinking, well, that's cockamamie, Reverend Verona. However, I'm just being transparent here. That was the first thing. That's the first thought that came to me. So I got to recognize that God was speaking to me, that God was speaking through her to me. And I got to step into accepting my divinity, because I got to step into the divinity and the God qualities that I bring. And those of you who know me know that for a long time I was using the Harry Potter invisibility cloak for what it is I bring. I was pretending that I don't bring anything. However, I realized I bring so many gifts of spirit. I bring joy, I bring faith, I bring trust, I bring serenity, I bring calmness. There's so many things I bring. I bring creativity, I bring intelligence. And I realized that this was a call for me to absolutely step into my own divinity, to step into the acceptance of my divinity. And as I stepped into the acceptance of my divinity, there was no way it could do anything but radiate out. It had to radiate out, because once we step into the acceptance of it, it just radiates out of us, and it magnetizes itself to that is like itself in, through, and as every other being. So I realized that was what was going on with my dear friend, she and I together. And then the following thing I realized was the mothering principle. In this week of what we call celebrating Mother's Day, and I want to say every day is Mother's Day, because mothers are available and mother every single day of the year, 365, and then some. However, in this week, I realized, oh, yeah, that's what else this was about, that she reached out to me at a time where she's getting all sorts of, shall we say, I'm not even going to put an adjective, but statements from the medical community that have nothing to do with the truth of who and what she is. That I get to be part of the mothering. I get to be the tenderness, the gentleness. I get to hold her in the gestational womb of spirit, knowing that whatever is to happen is already happening. It's already being birthed. It is already there. And I get to be a part of it. So that's how these, it's making me feel so full that it's such a blessing and such an honor. And we all have those blessings. We all have those honors when we allow ourselves to do those things, when we allow ourselves to recognize that God is speaking thoughts through us, when we allow ourselves to accept our divinity, when we allow ourselves to be the mothering principle. And it doesn't matter what sex you identify with, you get to be the mothering principle, and you get to be it all the time, with certitude and with faith and with trust and with the knowingness that this is who and what you are, who and what we are, who and whose you are. So I want to ask you, are you hiding from the universal Evite? Are you ducking and dodging from the universal Evite? Are you saying to yourself, oh, I don't know where I filed that Evite, so I can't answer it? And if some of these things feel familiar, well, I'm inviting you, suggesting for you, and just running it past you that you get to start right where you are. Just start right where you are. No pretense. No, I must take this class. No, I must read this book. No, I must meditate for 2 hours at 5:30 in the morning. Just start where you are. Start where you are. Recognize the instinctual information that spirit sends through you in your thoughts, because these are the thoughts of the heart of spirit running through you. Then just accept that you are a divine vessel of the self. Allow yourself to accept that you are the divinity. You are the container of spirit's divinity itself. And then co-create in the mothering principle that is already available within you. Just pluck it out. It's already in there. Just express the essence of the one that you are, the oneness and one that you are. So, this being alive is a special, special occasion. And that is not to say that there is no eternality and immortality in the universe. However, this being alive, being here, right now, being present, coming at this time, it is a special, special occasion. And now is our time to celebrate. Now is our time to party. And now is our time to be that we are. The I am of the I am that each of us is.